This week it's an old one but a good one, a roguelite that I've lost many an hour on. Why review such an old game? Why not? But really, I recently tried the sequel, which is in early access now, and as good as it is, I wanted to go back to the original, see how it compared and how it holds up today in a world filled with roguelike games, and I found myself getting overly addicted. And before I go on, please consider dropping a like and or subscribing. Thanks. Rogue Legacy is a side-scroller roguelite 2D pixel art affair. Choose one of the several classes and venture into the deadly castle in search of fortune. Die, the castle is reset and the layout randomised, try again. When I first played this many moons ago I wasn't impressed, but I hadn't given it a fair chance. No doubt I'd been conditioned by other roguelikes, especially top-down ones that grant unique builds on the fly. Rogue Legacy is different in this respect, though you will find the odd item and spell to complement your character on your travels. It doesn't define you as much as it would in Binding of Isaac or Hades, for example. Instead, the classes, which make a huge difference, are the defining factor, from the tanky barbarian, the magic savvy mage, or the spelunker that gets a bonus gold and can see chests on the map, or at least what you assume are chests. The classes allow you to tailor your runs to what you might be after, though you only get to choose one of three. Upon death, you will be back to town, and now you must choose a new hopeful, which is a child of the last character following in your footsteps. You are at the mercy of RNG, as well as the perks and conditions that the character may have, such as being nostalgic, which gives the colour palette an old film style, or only being able to see in 2D, fire spells backwards, being tiny or being huge. And though some do not impact the run too much, others certainly have an effect, and there are some secret areas that perhaps only a dwarf could reach, or only being able to see a certain distance can really screw you up. Others are just for the funnies, but it adds a real nice bit of flavour and variety. And no, there's nothing wrong with the recording here. This Lich King was born with vertigo and is colourblind. That run didn't last very long at all. Your character will have access to at least one spell, though mages will get several that can rotate through, and these are randomised as well. They range from fireballs that encircle you, throwing daggers, giant axes, to name but a few. The game's pinpoint and fluid control is a huge draw, and when you first start it feels almost impossible to get very far, but simply levelling up your skills and gear is only one part of this game. Learning how to navigate and fight with precision is key. There are 4 areas, 5 if you include the final boss, to work through, and these have levels/difficulties attached, though there's nothing stopping the player taking on the bosses apart from the final one in any order they please. More advanced players may well be capable of this, though the levels do have a natural order, as it were. You may go to higher level areas for a chance of more gold and loot. It gives it that old school RPG feel of knowing there's a more dangerous area that you can go to and poke your nose in, and the rewards are greater, but there's a really good chance you'll get spanked. It's that sense of progression and progressing to new areas, upgrading your runes and armour, filling out the skill tree and thinking about how you can best complement your lich or barbarian for the next run, and what you want to achieve from that run. Of course, being a roguelike, the world randomises the layout each run, which adds to the replayability, though I've said this before, not to the point where you feel like it's overly different every time. Very few games have not come remotely close to achieving that. And you can unlock an NPC that will lock the layout of your last run in place. This makes it easier to get to bosses quicker, as you will know where they are, though it comes at a 60% cost of your gold for that run. You will stumble over challenges as you play. Fairy chests can only be opened if you fulfill the criteria stated, such as take no damage, don't jump and kill all enemies. Fail and the chest will be locked, and you'll never know what wonders were within. You can also bump into the odd NPC here and there that'll have a challenge for you. Enemy variety is a decent mix of range, magical and outright annoying. It equally pleases me and frustrates me when a game gets that nice balance of enemies. You're fine with some and you know to be careful around others, and then there's always at least one type that's just a pain in the arse. For me it's the paintings. They aren't hard, it's obvious which ones are going to come to life, and the basic ones just circle you. The later ones start firing projectiles. They really seem to put me off guard, like bats in Spelunky, and it's psychological, I'm sure, but they just wig me out. Another little thing I really appreciate about the game is how it stacks up everything you killed at the end of the run. It's just a really nice little touch. The loop, though simple, is highly addictive. Find as much gold as possible before you inevitably kick the bucket and bring enough of that precious gold back and you can spend it on perks, new gear such as swords and armour, as well as runes that complement your moveset, or add effects such as mana and life drain, extra jumps, flying, or even increasing the difficulty for more gold. Don't think you can just go and collect vast pools of gold and hoard it though. You need to spend as much as you can after each run, as the gatekeeper to the castle will take all of it from you prior to entry, though you can spec to reduce the wedge he takes. The armour and runes clearly aid and complement certain classes. The Hokage hits like a truck and they cannot crit, so no point in having crit gear. Perhaps instead use the blood set to leech life as you hack through hordes, or increase your armour or damage resistance, or hell, why not just fly around the runes. So is it still relevant as it was 7 or 8 years ago? I say aye. Not only does this still hold up to the sequel, but it hands down stands at least side by side with much more recent games of this ilk. Granted, it's slightly dated I suppose by today's standards, but that's fine with me. It just took me by surprise to how much fun this title is. The game also boasts New Game Plus, remixed versions of the bosses, and other secrets to be found throughout. It's available on pretty much every platform, and if you're one of the 3 people who hasn't tried it yet and enjoy this kind of reward loop, you can do much worse, and perhaps it's time to go back for one more go. The simple premise and excellent execution with a highly addictive loop. As for the sequel, which is the main reason I picked this one up again, I may do an early look if I get enough time with it. It certainly looks to improve the formula, and classes feel much more unique, but at the time of recording it feels pretty far from finished. Cheers.